The worst kind of teacher. You ever have that one teacher you just can't stand? You know what I'm talking about. That teacher who pretty much just ruins your day the moment you see them? Well, I had a teacher just like that, and this was back in elementary school. So there were no periods with multiple teachers. This was my homeroom teacher, meaning I was stuck with her all day from beginning to end. The teacher I'm talking about was my first grade teacher, and we'll call her Miss G, and she hated my guts. And I'm not talking about the she was just a little hard on me kind of mean, but actual hate, and I didn't deserve it. Why? Because I was a good boy, alright? I did everything by the book. I was kind, patient, and respectful to adults. And I know I sound a little egotistical saying this, but I really was a good kid and I didn't deserve any of the hate my teacher gave me. She, unfortunately, felt differently. On my first day of school, she got mad at me for talking to the person next to me and punished me by having me sit by myself in the back of the class. Bad news is, I got separated from everyone else. Good news is, I got my own desk. I'm a cup half full kind of guy. It wasn't long after that when she banished another student to sit in my area with his own desk. I was the only Arabian boy and he was the only black kid in class. Coincidence?
I think not!
She put him just behind me so we're in the same area, but still not comfortable enough to chat with each other easily. And we both stayed there for the rest of the school year, and she harassed us all year long to the point that it just felt normal. What for some people might be an unforgettable day was just a Monday for us. For example, as a kid, you're taught to share with your classmates. Now, while that may be true for the rest of our class, it certainly wasn't the case for us. Psst, hey. What? Do you got a green crayon I could borrow? Oh, yeah, sure, here you go. No! If he doesn't have it, he doesn't use it! So we were never allowed to share or talk with each other. We still found ways whenever she wasn't looking though. I didn't even realize some of the things she did were truly disrespectful and evil because I got so used to it and practically expected it. For example, she had one of those desks where you stand behind like a podium when she would address the class or grade our papers, and when it was time to hand her our tests to grade, she would grade them on the spot and hand it back to us. We'd line up and one by one give her our assignments for her to grade. She'd grade it and gently hand it back to the students. But for me, that wasn't the case. 99% of the time, she just flicked the paper off her desk for me to catch it. Throughout the whole year, I can count on one hand the time she actually handed me my assignment back. And in those rare scenarios, I remember feeling like I did something right. And in that moment, I rewinded throughout the entire school day in my head to try to remember what I did differently for her to treat me like this again in the future. In the end, I could never figure it out because she just went right back to throwing my papers off her desk. In the beginning, I wasn't that good at catching paper riding the wind and would sometimes follow my paper all the way to the locker section of the classroom. But eventually, I got pretty good at it. Now, I'm not saying I'm the most athletic guy, but if there was ever an Olympic sport for paper catching, gold, easy. She'd yell at me if I couldn't find something in my desk. Granted, I was horrible at organizing my shit. Still, I remember finally gathering the courage to tell my dad about her. Hey, Dad? Yes, son? My teacher's kind of mean to me. Understatement of the century. Oh, really? Well, I'll talk to her tomorrow. I went to sleep that day hoping I did the right thing, telling my dad about her. And the next day, my dad dropped me off right into the classroom, which he doesn't typically do since I catch the bus, but he wanted to talk to her. I had an insane amount of butterflies in my stomach, and I really just wanted to tell my dad to just forget about the whole thing. But at the same time, if there was a chance my teacher would start being nice to me, I didn't want to ruin it. So I just let it happen. And my dad, despite having about 50% English speaking capacity, composed himself really well and said, "Hello, miss." "Oh, hello. Hey, I hear from my son that you could be a little hard on him, and I was hoping you might be able to take it easier on him." "Oh, I'm sorry. I can be a little tough with my students, but that's just kind of how I am. If you want the best out of them, you gotta be tough, but I'll try and ease up." Right then and there, I thought to myself, holy shit, I think I did it. This just might be the end of it. I might be able to sit with the rest of the class again and participate in activities with them again. I felt great, like everything was going to change for the better, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Later that day, I must have needed something I know I didn't have, and in that situation, I already know I was going to get yelled at. So as I was searching through my desk, once I know for sure I didn't have what she was looking for, instead of admitting it and getting yelled at, I would just shuffle things from left to right, right to left, back and forth over and over and over again while my vision starts to get blurred from crying. Trying to delay the inevitable moment, I'm gonna have to tell her I can't find it, and she yells at me. But once I told her, she picked up my desk, dumped everything on the floor and said, "Look for it! You're gonna tell your dad on me, huh? Huh? Find it!" I specifically remember the look in her eyes, filled with absolute hate and extremely red. Long story short, nothing changed. I might have gotten it a bit worse for the next week or two, but it went back to the usual shit show. I remember my first ever spelling bee test. I was actually absent the day before and didn't realize how these things were done. You know how the teacher will say the word and then use it in a sentence, but all you have to spell out is the actual word? Yeah, see, I didn't know that. She'd say, bee. The bee went into the beehive. And I'm like, fuck, that's a lot. There's no way. I look around and I see no hesitation from the rest of the class. Everyone's just scribbling away and I'm like, I was only gone for a day and you guys moved on to sentences? What happened to 3-letter words? So I'm just trying to write down the whole sentence, barely getting a word or two down before she moves on to the next word. Run. I went for a run outside of the local market. And I'm like, what the hell? There's no way. In the end, I got a 0. And whenever I got a 0, and I got a lot of those in her class, she'd genuinely look happy and aggressively write a big fat 0 before flicking it off her desk for me to catch. And she would never tell me what I did wrong. I mean, she could easily understand my mistake for trying to write out the actual whole sentence instead of the word itself. Forget giving me a second chance, just tell me what I did wrong so I won't do it again. But she doesn't. Just a fat 0 and flicks the paper off. There was another time where it was applesauce day, and the whole school had to bring in an apple so that the school can make applesauce. Whenever there was a fun event, my teacher would never let me join. There was always an assignment that I somehow missed or was absent for, and I wasn't absent that much. But somehow in the few moments I was, there was a mountain of assignments that I just happened to miss, and just so happens to catch up to me right when there's a fun activity to do with the whole class. So me and my big brain decided, you know what, I'm gonna bring 2 apples. That's right, I'm going to do twice the effort everyone else is doing, and then maybe, just maybe, she'll let me join everyone. So I brought in 2 apples, and I gave it to my teacher along with everyone. And I made sure to give it to her one at a time so she would specifically remember I gave 2. Because if I just gave her 2 at the same time, she'd just grab it like nothing and realize the extra effort I put in. But if I gave her 1, she'll turn around and I'd be like, forgetting something? Oh my god, there's more? Does it ever end? Yes, actually I only brought 2, so this is actually it. I gave her the apples, she made them all in the applesauce, boom bada boom, time flies by and it's applesauce time. We line up and we're all going to eat them in the hallway along with all the other students in all the other classes and teachers. But lo and behold, right when I'm about to leave the class to join everyone, she puts her arm out to block me and says, "Not you, you still own assignment." Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
What's your profanity?
Oh, okay. So I sat there and did this random ass assignment that of course I've never even heard of while everyone was chatting and having a good time eating not 1, but 2 of the apples I brought in. I didn't even get to taste it. And that wasn't the only time. Almost every time there was some group party or fun activity, there was a random assignment that I apparently missed and the whole class already took. I remember there were movies I'd listen in on sometimes while the class would watch and have a good time. And I'm sure there must have been some times where I'd participate in a group activity with a class. I just don't remember. Well, except for one time. The whole school was going outside to play some fun mini events. It was a big day for the whole school, where there'd be races, tug of war, fill the water bucket kind of games. I got so used to not participating that when the class was leaving, I just stayed behind. And the teacher looked at me and said, "What are you doing? Let's go!" I was confused. This almost never happened, so of course it caught me off guard. But without a second to waste, I got up and left with the entire class. And man, did I have the time of my life. Honestly, I remember one game in particular where it was boys versus girls. We had to take a large cup, like the cheap plastic ones you'd get at McDonald's or something, and scoop up the water in one large container and race to the other container to fill it up. The game was rigged, because our cup was broken in half down the middle, and we'd end up losing like half our water on our trip. So we just tried our best to keep it together while the girls' cup was still whole. But in any case, I had a blast, and it was without doubt the best day of the year for me. Had you asked me in the moment, I'd probably say it was the best day of my life. Again, in these rare scenarios, I like to look back on my day and analyze what I did right to deserve this. For years afterwards, I thought maybe, at least for that one day, she felt guilty and decided to be nice to me for once. But then I realized as I grew older that since the whole school had to be outside for these activities for hours and hours, she couldn't just leave me alone in the building even if she wanted to. Nor could she just force me to sit on the sidelines without the other teachers questioning her. So it wasn't so much that she was nice to me for one day, rather she just didn't have a choice. At a later point in the school year, I had what you would call an accident, for which I mostly blame my teacher, but ultimately the blame's with me. You see, I had to really use the bathroom to pee. You can already see where this is going. But it was after lunch, and I'd say around 12 to 1 p.m.-ish. And if I asked Miss G to use the bathroom, she'd probably say something like, "Are you serious? Why didn't you use the bathroom during lunch? So you want to waste my time, is that it, huh? Huh?" But if I hold it to use the bathroom later in the day, not too close to post-lunch time, she'd say something like, "Why didn't you go earlier when you just came back from lunch? So you just want to waste my time, is that it, huh? Huh?" You see, there's just no winning with her. So I had figured I'd go for option number 3. Hold it in until I get home. That way I don't have to worry about her yelling at me and I can pee in peace. The plan was solid. All I had to do was hold in my pee for the next 2 hours or so and I'd be home free. I didn't make it 5 minutes later until I pissed myself. Felt good at first, but halfway in I realized my mistake. Too late though, it's already all the way down my pants and it's as plain as day. But it's okay though, because there's no reason for me to get up until the end of the day, when I leave to catch my bus. I can still play this off so long as I play it cool and never get out of my chair until the end of the day. Alright class, I have these t-shirts to hand out to all you as part of our school fundraiser, so when I call you, come up to the front of the class and grab your shirt. But then the skies opened up and God said, "I hate you." Okay, I can still hide it, but it's gonna be tough. She called my name and I had to walk as if nothing is wrong while also hiding the accident. So I kept my legs together and penguin walked all the way to the front of the class, trying my best to act cool. I was hoping this would be one of those rare moments she would actually hand me the item instead of throwing it on the floor for me to pick up. Bitch. What? I have an itch. That's why I'm walking like this. Just get back to your seat. I bent down to grab the shirt and wobbled back to my seat. I looked around after I sat down and it seemed like no one noticed anything. Finally, it was the end of the day, and instead of everyone leaving at once, they'll call out your bus number and then you leave. My bus number was called, and I left the class and head out into the hallway. This is it. Wasn't easy, but I successfully got away with it. Now all that's left is to Sam! Come here! Given her tone of voice, you might think this might be something serious, but she always talks to me like this, so I really couldn't tell what it was for. Yes, whore? What? You dropped your pen on the floor. Oh, okay. Wait, what's all that on your pants? Shit, this really is about the piss. I, spilled milk on my pants from lunchtime. That's about all my 3 brain cells can come up with, so don't blame me. Lunch was over 3 hours ago. You peed your pants, didn't you? She yelled at me for another few minutes before letting me go. I get on the bus, and I sat at the edge of one of these seats so no one would sit next to me given my situation. But lo and behold, these 2 girls come on the bus, and one sits right across from me at the edge of the other seat, and the other girl goes past me to sit in the spot next to me. The spot I was purposely trying to block. These besties were chatting up a storm with me right in the middle of them. Of all the seats they chose here, the bus isn't even full. They could have gone anywhere. They kept talking and talking and talking, and then I made a suggestion. Excuse me, I just can't help but feel like I'm kind of in the way. Would it be better if you guys just sat together? No, you're okay. Anyways, like I was saying, did you hear what she said about what Brittany did yesterday? Oh my god, can you believe
say I didn't warn you.
Said? Why is the seat wet? I can safely say that was my first and last time I ever peed my pants in school. And from there on afterwards, I always used the bathroom during lunch, even if I didn't have to go. At least for the rest of that school year. The rest of the year went by, and I had my usual shit days with Miss G until finally, it was the last day of school. I nearly counted down all 25,200 plus seconds in the 7 hours I was in school, because all I could do was look at the clock the entire day. I imagine this is what it feels like for a prisoner on his last day of prison. It was time for buses to start being called for people to leave, and out of nowhere, Miss G says, "You can go back to your seat now." And it just threw me off guard. I've been in this seat by myself for the entire school year, and now she's letting me go back to my seat? I don't even know where my seat is anymore. It's kind of pointless seeing as I was literally less than 10 minutes left now before my bus is going to be called, and I leave this hellhole for good. But you know what? Maybe she felt bad. All the things she said, all the things she did throughout the whole school year finally caught up to her, and she's finally feeling guilty. And this is some small way of trying to say she's sorry. Right as I get ready to move out, she said, "Not you!" Apparently she was talking to one of the other students she put in timeout earlier that day. Figures. I left for the bus, and I'm telling you, nothing could happen that could ruin that day for me. I went through summer, and my family gave me a choice between going back to the same school or going to a brand new school that actually was brand new. Just got built the year before. Easiest decision I've ever made in my life.